Bingo. Hey guys, want to tell you a little story today. The other day, me and my buddy Nathan, we went out on the streets of Winnipeg, downtown. And the first guy we ran into, he actually kind of came up to us. We met at a street corner and he just kind of stumbled into us and started talking really fast. And it was clear that he had some problems, like actual problems he was dealing with. And we suspect he may have been high on meth as well. Talking really fast, tweaking. For those who know the lingo, he was definitely under the influence of something. But it was interesting because I got to watch my buddy talk to him, and he started just inquiring about his day. I guess this guy, he was kind of being disowned by family members who owed him money, and he needed them to pay him so that he could pay another guy. And he was really frustrated and freaking out. And so my friend just started talking to him about Jesus and telling him he was loved and telling him he was important and really just speaking to his heart. And it was fascinating because the guy immediately, he's like, stop it. You're making me soft. As my friend kept talking, the guy was, you could see he really wanted to engage, but that he also really didn't want to be soft. Soft as in vulnerable, soft as in, tender, kind-hearted, all that stuff. And my friend just kept talking to him anyways. And eventually this guy just started crying. And my friend asked if he could pray for him, and he did. He let him say a short prayer because he basically wanted to get out of there because it was touching us a deep spot in his heart. Man, this guy's survival mechanism was hardening himself. He thought that was the only way he could do it. And he recognized, like, his heart wanted vulnerability. He wanted to come to this soft place where he could be tender. But he knew that from his perspective, if he gave up being hard, he'd be eaten alive out there. And he's, to a certain degree, from his perspective, absolutely. It was just really fascinating. We were able to bless him, and he went on his way. And but I saw something in him that really made me start to think. This guy wanted vulnerability, he wanted safety, he wanted softness, but he couldn't see a way to have that and live on the streets where he was living. So immediately I thought of what is it? Matthew 10 verse 16. This is Jesus. He's talking to the disciples and he says, I send you out like sheep among wolves. So it's like Jesus knows that there's this tender place where we live from, where we're like innocent and we're vulnerable and we're peaceful and we're loving, but we're living in a place that's run by wolves. It's harsh, it's hard, it's tough, it's violent, it's evil. So my question is, like, how does Jesus expect us to live like sheep in a wolf's world? I heard a wise man once say that people can't take from you what they didn't give you. And basically what he was saying is that if you are getting your source and your life from people, they'll be able to take life from you. If you're getting your identity, if you're getting your value, if you're getting your the way you live your life, if you're being fashioned and formed by people, they can fashion and form you any way they want. But if you're getting your life and you're getting your value and you're getting your importance and you're getting your motivation from God, how can somebody else take that from you? How can they remove from you what they never gave you? And I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I bet this guy acted like a wolf a lot of the time. And he probably acted like a wolf because at one time he had been bitten by one. Life is hard, it's dangerous, it's set up to destroy you, it's set up to harden you, it puts you in survival mode, and the result is that you end up looking out for yourself at the cost of everyone else. Jesus invites us to follow him and live like sheep in a wolf's world. It's a completely new way. It's kindness instead of bitterness. It's forgiveness instead of judgment. It's mercy instead of hatred and malice and wrath and all these things. Rather than responding in kind, we're called by Jesus to respond in the exact opposite spirit. Jesus says in Matthew 5, basically, just to sum it up, love your enemies, pray for those who persecute you, do good to those who insult you, and in doing this, you will be children of your Father in heaven. So we have this amazing idea that Jesus is showing here, that the person who has power to form you is who you're going to end up looking like. This man had lived like a wolf. I mean, he was on meth. He was dealing. He was doing all sorts of crazy stuff, right? He was living a very tough, hardened lifestyle. But right underneath the surface was this soft, gentle lamb. What if there's actually no such thing as wolves? What if all we have in our world is just a bunch of sheep who have been bit and start acting like the person who bit them? What if this sheep just doesn't know that they have a shepherd who's protecting them, who loves them? What if this guy just doesn't know who his father is, who his source is, who's the one who can actually mold his life in a way that's beneficial? Now, I want to say really quick too, I'm not saying that if you were hurt by somebody or someone offended you or crossed you, that you shouldn't be concerned with that. Obviously, people hurt other people, and that's not okay. That's not fair. It's not good. But what I want to get across to you today is that we want to refuse to let what someone did to me create in me the thing that caused them to hurt me. With every attack or hurt you face, there's a seed that gets planted in you, and how you react to that pain, to that offense, directly determines how that seed is formed in your life, whether it forms at all or whether it dies. Jesus not only, he's not just telling us to, do good things, be nice, be friendly, be kind, nah, nah, nah. It actually stops sin from reproducing itself in you. If someone hurts me, I get upset and I get hurt, and then I go and hurt somebody else, and then they get upset and they get hurt, blah, blah, blah. The cycle goes on, right? But if somebody hurts me, in acting in love and acting like a sheep, as Jesus calls us to walk like, in kindness and humility and in mercy, we actually stop that thing from forming itself in us. And that we stop that person from having a place in our lives where they dictate who we become. Because if somebody bullies you or hurts you or offends you or tricks you or betrays you, and 20 years later, you're still bitter about that, and you're still angry and you still are upset, they're still bullying you from the past. They're still dictating how you're living your life. They're still causing emotions. They're still causing hatred. They're still causing all these things to happen in your body 20 years later, and you may not even know them. They may be dead now. They may be gone, but they're still forming you. That sounds like slavery, man. That sounds like you got tricked. The Bible also says, do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. So there's an overcoming that takes place, a conquering, a victory when we respond in good to acts of evil perpetrated against us. We don't allow evil to be reproduced in our own hearts through offense. If you find your source, if you find your life, if you find your peace and your identity and your value in Jesus and what he says about you, what other people say and do don't have a right to form you. They don't have a right to determine who you're going to be or how you're going to react. They, just looking at Jesus, guys, the guy went around doing good. He was healing people. He was setting people free. He was having mercy. Everywhere he went, all he did was good. And everywhere he went, he faced opposition. He was betrayed by Judas. He was almost murdered multiple times. He was talked about behind his back. He was called crazy. They brought him to the edge of a cliff to throw him off. Finally, they actually got it done and had him crucified. But Jesus didn't change. He never let what they were doing against him produce the sin that they had in him. Because Jesus knew who he was. He knew who his Father was. He knew who his source was. His source wasn't man. His source wasn't other people. So it didn't matter what they did to him. He knew who he was. He knew how he was going to react. And it was a sheep mentality. It was a peace mentality. It was a life mentality. It was forgiveness. It was mercy. He wasn't going to put on the same cloak and dagger that these guys had just because they did it to him. I believe that true victory over the wolf, over sin, over evil, over malice, over wrath, over hatred, over anger, is to not become it. The true victory is that your heart remains unstained, that you don't become like what is attacking you. And when we start walking in peace, when we start walking in kindness, when we start responding in love, when we start responding in forgiveness to all these things, first of all, we stop the reproduction of evil right at its, right at the doorstep. And secondly, I think there's a little trick that gets played, because evil is actually, like we said before, evil is overcome with good. Like, you can actually overcome evil in somebody else by responding in goodness. We've seen this multiple times. Man, my same buddy, actually, he has another story. He was out in the street talking, and this guy came up to him. He was looking for a fight. He was looking to punch somebody. He came up to my friend. He said, I'm going to punch you. Let's go. He's tall, so it's like he gets picked on a lot because everyone wants to fight the tough guy, right? And so he says, you know what, man? I don't really fight, but Jesus loves you. And the guy said, what? He said, yeah, Jesus loves you. He's like, man, I ought to punch you in the face right now. And my friend said, you can punch me, but I'm still just going to love you. And so the guy, he bluffed him. He came in for a punch, and my buddy didn't move. And then the guy just started crying. My friend's goodness actually overcame the evil in this man and actually broke down some walls and some barriers, and he was able to have a heart connection. I just want to remind you today Don't let what other people do to you form you. Don't let what other people have done. Don't let how people have hurt you or betrayed you or offended you cause you to act in a similar manner, because all that's happened is that they have begun forming you and shaping you. They have become your potter. You have become the wolf by getting bit by the wolf. It's nasty, guys. Jesus set us free from that sort of stuff. He invites us to know the Father that we may be like him, because God's not going around and biting people and being malicious and being evil and being hateful. He actually set up the example for us to follow. Hey, thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'll be doing another one soon. If you like it, give it a share, give it a like. I'll talk to you later. Thank you.